we envision a prophet cloaked in the extraordinary, a near mythical figure who commanded fire from heaven. Yet the Book of Kings paints a different picture. Elijah, though a man of God, was a man nonetheless. He felt deeply, wrestled with doubt, and knew the sting of fear. S1. Elijah, a name that echoes through centuries, synonymous with unwavering faith and miraculous power.
Elijah lived in turbulent times. Israel, his homeland, was steeped in idolatry under the wicked rule of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. They had abandoned God, embracing false gods and pagan rituals.
Elijah, burdened by the spiritual decay of his people, stood as a lone voice, a beacon of truth in a kingdom shrouded in darkness.
Yet Elijah's story reassures us that our humanity does not disqualify us from God's purpose. Our weaknesses, our fears, our very humanness, these are not barriers to God's power, but conduits for it.
Our journey of faith, much like Elijah's, is rarely linear or predictable. The God who empowered Elijah is the same God who walks with us, offering the same strength, the same unwavering love. Elijah's story is more than just epic showdowns. It's a journey marked by intense vulnerability.
After his bold confrontation with Ahab exposing the futility of Baal worship, Elijah receives a death threat from Jezebel. Fear grips his heart.
The prophet who moments ago seemed invincible is now fleeing for his life, seeking refuge in the desolate wilderness.
Alone, depleted and consumed by despair, I cried out to God, "I've had enough, Lord," I pleaded. "Take my life."
We find ourselves at the heart of Elijah's humanity. Stripped of his prophetic mantle, he's simply a man broken, overwhelmed, and longing for relief.
Yet even in our darkest moments, God's faithfulness remains. He doesn't rebuke Elijah for his vulnerability, but meets him with compassionate care.
After Elijah's retreat, God leads him to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. It's here, in the stillness, that Elijah experiences God's presence in a profound way.
However, this encounter is not a spectacle of might, but a tender revelation of God's gentle power.
A powerful wind shatters rocks, but God is not in the wind. An earthquake rumbles, but God is not in the earthquake. Then, a fire, fierce and consuming, but God is not in the fire. Finally, after the fire, comes a still small voice, the whisper of God.
Why this quiet revelation after such dramatic displays of power? Perhaps it's a reminder that God's presence isn't always found in the extraordinary. It's in the stillness, in the gentle whisper of his voice, that we often encounter him most profoundly.
The climax of Elijah's story arrives with a dramatic departure. No ordinary death awaited this prophet of fire. As Elijah and his successor, Elisha, walk towards the Jordan River, something extraordinary happens. A chariot of fire, drawn by horses of fire, descends from heaven, separating the two.
My father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel."
With that, Elijah is swept up in a whirlwind, ascending into heaven. Elijah's ascent is a powerful symbol of God's reward for faithfulness. It's a testament to a life lived in complete surrender to God's will, even in the face of immense opposition. Elijah's story, though set centuries ago, continues to resonate with profound relevance. His life, a tapestry woven with threads of unwavering faith, profound despair, and ultimate triumph, offers timeless lessons for our modern lives. Elijah's vulnerability reminds us that doubt is not the antithesis of faith, but a natural part of the human experience. We are not defined by our moments of weakness, but by our willingness to rise, to seek God's strength in our vulnerability. His encounters with God, both in the dramatic and the mundane, teach us to recognize God's presence in every circumstance, in the quiet whispers of our hearts, and the storms that rage around us. Elijah's unwavering commitment to truth, even when it meant standing alone, challenges us to stand firm in our convictions, to be voices of hope and truth in a world often shrouded in darkness. His story reminds us that God equips ordinary people to do extraordinary things, empowering us to be agents of change, to fight for justice, and to reflect His love in a world desperately in need of it. Most importantly, Elijah's legacy reminds us that we are not alone in our journeys of faith. The God who sustained Elijah, who met him in his despair and empowered him to fulfill his purpose, is the same God who walks with us today. He promises to be our strength when we are weak, our comfort in times of sorrow, and our guide through the complexities of life. As we reflect on Elijah's life, we are invited to consider our own journeys of faith. We may not face the same trials, but we all encounter our own wilderness experiences, moments when doubt creeps in, and challenges threaten to overwhelm us. What resonates with you most in Elijah's story? Is it his vulnerability, his unwavering faith, or his dramatic encounters with God? How can his experiences encourage you in your own walk of faith? Remember, God is present even in our deepest despair. He sees our tears, hears our cries, and offers His unwavering strength to help us overcome. Maybe you're feeling the weight of standing alone for what you believe in. Let Elijah's courage inspire you to be a voice of truth, to stand firm in your convictions, knowing that God will honor your faithfulness. Elijah's life, though extraordinary in its scope, points to a timeless truth. God is faithful. Let us, like Elijah, walk in the confidence of His unwavering love, knowing that the God who called us is faithful to complete the work He has begun in us.